what if we had an executive order that asked the fundamental questions of our Latinos being served by federal agencies? We knew what the answer was. We knew that we were the most underserved population, even though we were the most needy population in terms of educational resources. But if we could have an executive order that would create a commission that would ask that question of every agency and make a report to the country and begin to hold them accountable, that would make a difference. And if the commission was respected enough, had enough gravitas, if you will, it could make some very significant changes. It was an idea that was immediately rejected by the White House, but fortunately there were enough folks. It was during George Bush the first tenure that we launched this initiative, so Rita DiMartino, who was an active Republican, and I'll always be grateful to her for raising, just saying, well, why don't you meet with Raul Yzaguirre before you decide not to move forward on this idea on the executive order. And so we met with John Sununu. I met with John Sununu and one of his staff people, and presented the case, made the case why an executive order made sense, and what the contours would be, the parameters, and how we would go about it. And John Sununu said, former governor of New Hampshire, said, there'll be a cold day in hell before this administration signs an executive order. We don't believe in executive orders, on and on and on. And I remember one of his aides, who was a friend of mine, threw a pillow at me for being a little bit aggressive on that issue at the White House. So I said, we're going to move forward on this, and I hope you'll work with us. And he said, well, I may be able to persuade folks to do something, but we left it kind of vague. To make a very long story short, we decided to take this on at the National Council of Raza as a priority and as a mission, and we began to organize the Congress people who were on our side. We got ads in newspapers. We started bombarding the White House with letters, and finally the White House responded by saying, "Why don't we hold some hearings?" And Lauro Cavazos was the Secretary of Education. Initially, was not very supportive of the idea, but throughout these hearings, which we used to mobilize our community even further, because it gave us a forum to articulate our needs and get some publicity around it. So by the time the hearings were concluded, there was just a lot of momentum for the executive order.
To make something like that first executive order happen required a comprehensive view about how to influence. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, something else needed to occur before we even get to that point, and that was the fact that we need to understand what was happening, and we dug into the intros of the bureaucracy. The same thing was true in Head Start programs, for example, where a given agency serving one population had gotten funds in the 60s, and here we were in the 80s, the same different populations, different demographics, and the same organization was with a different demographic governance system was operating the program, and the end result was that we were grossly underserved. From there on, it was just straightforward organizing. We needed to organize different constituencies. We made our case it was just hard work, and so a lot of things came together, fortunately, and we were able to achieve what I thought was an important milestone and an important vehicle. Now, it hasn't worked exactly the way we hoped it would have, but I think it's still there, and hopefully with the administration we'll take it to a new level.